happy holidays from Hack-A-Week. Right now you're hearing my voice through this tiny little Class AB amplifier circuit. It has only 9 components. Well, since it's Christmas, I thought it would be lots of fun to build a gingerbread version of a Class AB amplifier, and here it is. It's got all the components that you see here. It's actually built to scale, and it's built from gingerbread frosting and candy. So follow along now on this video and I'll show you how I put all this together. Boy, I can't wait to eat some of this.
Let's get started on this project here at the workbench. We need a schematic for our little amplifier, and we're going to use the Class AB Audio Amp that I did in a hack from last year. If you want to build this based on that project, just look it up on the Hack-A-Week website, the Class AB Audio Amp, or look for it on Hack-A-Week TV right here on YouTube. I've started laying out some of the components here on a 16-hole by 16-hole perf board from Radio Shack. 2 transistors are mounted in there at the moment, not soldered yet. And I have some data sheets printed out so that I know what the components are for this layout. TO92 cases are what these transistors are, and the reason I looked that up on the data sheet is that I'm using Express PCB software to lay out my board. Let me show you what this can do for you. You can just lay out a grid 16-hole by 16-hole, and then you can place your components on there, and then later we'll draw the traces and it will show you just where to solder together the holes on the other side of the board. So I have a capacitor here that I need to mount on the board, and to do it accurately I can just look it up in the component manager, and it's got a spacing on the leads of, looks like 3.5 millimeter, and so right here I've already selected radial electrolytic lead spacing 3.5 millimeter, and there's the component. And if I click right here, I insert the component onto the PCB right there, simple as that, and I can place it anywhere I want on the board, and there we go, it's in place. So we'll just move right along and get all the components soldered up to the board first, then we'll do the layout for the traces, and then we'll solder the traces. I haven't had enough coffee yet. Where's my coffee? And here's the board with all the components soldered to it as per the layout that I made in Express PCB. And now I can start putting in my traces here on the board. I've started with a few here. Grab the trace tool, and let's go ahead and put one from here to here. And then the way I do this with my schematic, I do that, and then on the schematic I just mark what it is I just connected. So basically I connected the junction point between that 1K resistor, the 1N4148 diode, and the base on the NPN right there. And so I just keep going along and marking them off with a highlighter as I go. That way I don't miss anything. Just duplicated all the traces on the back of the board, ready to test out. Okay, it's time to make the gingerbread perf board. And then we got gingerbread mix. We're making the cookie recipe. Make a nice consistent dough, and then we have to let it sit in the refrigerator and chill for about an hour. That way the butter starts to get thick again. And then we'll put it on the cookie sheet as one big giant cookie and bake it at 375 for about 8 to 10 minutes. Gotta make the diodes, the little 1N4148 diodes that you see right there. I'm gonna make those out of hard candy, so I need to make a mold. I figured out the scale of things here. It's about 4.4 to 1 that I'm scaling this up. So the first part of the diodes that I'm going to make are the little orange section in the middle. And right now, what I'm doing with this aluminum foil and a screwdriver is making a little mold, a little tiny candy mold here. So, I form the Tootsie Roll into a little base for my mold. Poke a hole in it with the screwdriver. Put that down here on the aluminum foil. Okay. Put the mold in there. Alright, that's good enough. Now comes the tricky part, pouring the hot candy into that tiny little hole right there. Okay, here's my boiled down sugar and water, which actually I cooked a little too long and hot and it caramelized. But as it turned out, that's kind of a happy accident because it's the color of the inner part of the diodes. Here it goes. Boy, this is going to be tough. I'm sure it's going to spill over the edges, but as long as I get some down inside there, it'll be alright. Wow. Look at me go. Super accuracy, deluxe. Woohoo! Okay, that's that part, except it's tipping over because it's hot. Okay, this cooled in the refrigerator for a little while. Let's see if we can open it up and see how it came out. I hope it works. And what I have to do next is make the clear stuff, cook the sugar and water down a little slower to where I get a clear mixture. Ooh, look at that. That is perfect. Perfect diode color. I don't know if you can see that very well. I get a white background there. It's absolutely perfect. Okay, next phase in the diode building process here. I've got the little amber pieces all cut. Isn't that cool? And I've got another mold here that's a little bit bigger than the first one. And the theory is I'm going to fill this up partway with some clear stuff, drop these in, let that go solid, and then take it out, flip it over, and then cast it again. And I should end up with a nice round looking little diode of candy. Alright, got this stuff that's clear now at the right stage. And I've got to pour it in here now. The trick is I only need to do it part way, so I'm going to be really careful. Lisa's making a fruit cake in the background here. We're just having a crazy baking day here. I'm baking circuits and she's baking food.
Yeah, but we can still eat your circuits.
Alright, now I need to get these little guys in there before that solidifies. And if you look at a little germanium diode real close, you see there's two parts to them. And there's that little gap in between on these little orange pieces, and that's where the little itty bitty piece of germanium sits. So we'll get them all in there. Oh, this is okay. Thanks. Lisa's offered me a toothpick. Alright, after a minute or two in the freezer, this should pop right out. Yep. Now we'll get this all set up again and flip that over into the mold and pour the other half. Okay, we have the next batch mixed up, boiled up to about 310 degrees, which is where it goes into a hard candy stage. By the way, you can test that by taking the mixture and dropping it into cool water, and it should form a hard ball in the bottom of the cup of water like almost immediately. A little more in the end there. These Tootsie Rolls are coming in real handy. I'm using them for a kind of a dam here on my mold. push that down into the mold. There they are, out of the mold. Happy little candy diodes. Don't they look cool? Germanium, my favorite. Oh look, a candy 1N4148 diode. It's a little cloudy right now because I put some confectioner's sugar on it to keep it from getting all sticky. Okay, time to make the gingerbread. Got the dough here out of the fridge, pretty well firmed up. It's gonna knead it a little bit to get it. I was having a little trouble rolling it, so put wax paper over the top. It helped a lot. There we go. Now we can just put this on the cookie sheet. Flip it all over here. Shit. Moved on me a little bit. 213 holes. Wow. Got a ways to go. Woohoo! There we go. One Radio Shack perf board. This is the beginning of a 470 microfarad capacitor made out of gingerbread. And I've got this frosting stuff on it. It's kind of gluing it all together. And I'm just going to spread that all around, and then later I'm going to paint this the same color as the capacitor. This is all to scale, by the way. These are my wires. They are a frosting that comes in a tube like this, and you warm it up in boiling water, and I squirted them out on wax paper, and now I've got this cake color stuff that's silver. So I'm spraying them silver. Now I'll flip them over and spray the other side after that's dry. Making wires, candy wires. Up next are the resistors. We're going to make those out of string cheese because it's already almost the right color for the 1/4 watt resistors, but it's a little too big, so I'm going to push this into it and get it down to about maybe 10 millimeters. I need a little bit of butter in this so that it does not stick, and then we will just push this cheese onto here and end up with a nice little, hopefully right size piece for the resistor. Whoa, this is weird. Hopefully it pulls back out okay. Let's cut it and see what we've got. Look at that. Cheese resistors. The stripes on the resistors are getting put on with some food coloring pens. So we'll get the brown and the black lines on first. Pretty easy to do on the cheese. Time to make transistors. That's what they look like on the board, and I need to duplicate those somehow in something edible. So I think I'm going to follow the same path I did with the diodes. I've made a mold here that is shaped like the transistor, and it's tall enough that I can get all 3 of them out of a pour of candy inside here, and I'll just saw them up into pieces. Got the sugar boiling away over here, another batch. Next batch is ready. Let's pour some transistors. I bet the semiconductor people wish it was this easy. Here we go. My transistor mold has cooled down in the freezer. I have it out here in the shop now ready to slice up. Let's open it up and see how it turned out. Got a big old band-aid on one thumb because I cut my finger wrapping Christmas presents yesterday. Had a great Christmas. Alright, let's see here. This is not cooperating. Unveiling. Oh, perfect. Oh, I'm very pleased with this. Look at that. That's perfect transistor shape. Can cut some NPNs and PNPs out of this. Alright. Well, let's put it in there, our little slicer here and start chopping it up with the hacksaw. There they are, 3 transistor pieces successfully cut. Now I just need to sand them down a little bit to make them smooth and spray them black and mount them on the board. I'm ready to start gluing down the components here. Got my capacitor all painted up with my sprayable food coloring. Got this icing that we used before. Put a little bit of that down. And we'll stick the capacitor in place. I'll do this one over here. I'm just using the holes as a grid and referring to my little circuit here as to where to put everything. Okay, the transistors are glued in place and being held there with toothpicks. The resistors are in place. I've got some detail on the capacitors, and now it's time for my wiring, which is pretty straightforward. Hey, there's J-Fat. What are you doing in the kitchen, buddy? Anyway, of course he had to make an appearance. Everyone's been asking about him. So let's get, let's get a power wire in here with some red licorice. Yummy. A little too much goo there. Okay. Okay, everything is labeled. There's my 9-volt power. Here's the audio input. There's the audio output. Alright, this thing is complete. It might be time to take a bite out of this. Wow, this thing is so cool. I can't believe I pulled this off. It looks so much like the original. I mean, look. Here it is. There's the gingerbread version. Here's the original version. Let's hold them up in scale here. How cool is that? It looks just like it. Well, you know what? I think I'm gonna have to eat some of this right now. And in fact, this little transistor right here, this little 3904, this looks really tasty. That's pretty good. I might try a bite of this 47 microfarad capacitor too. Gallium arsenide. My favorite, especially around the holidays. And these little resistors right here, these are made out of cheese. So, I'm gonna have one of these right now. Yummy. I just love eating circuits. Well, anyway, that's making some strange flavors in my mouth right now. And I hope you enjoyed this hack. And maybe it inspires you to go out there and make your own gingerbread circuit board. I'm going to have a bite of the corner here. Perf board. So good. Anyway, till next time. Keep on hacking. Capacitor. Yummy. Okay. This is a mouthful of weird shit.